love 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, where you could speak to them again. Just have that conversation. It's so amazing, wouldn't it? It's like, why hasn't heaven got a phone?
Hi, welcome back to my channel. Nice to see you again. And I'm Chris. And today we're going to paint a butterfly and a sunflower. Because today we have to paint from our heart, not from our fear. Last week I was a little bit in a funny mood, but there we go. Sometimes grief gets you like that. So we're not going to hang about today. We're just going to get on with it and let's go and see what we can do with this butterfly. My reference picture, yeah, might not end up looking like that, but we'll see. Let's get going.
Starting with this nice idea of the sunflower and the butterfly, and I'll explain all the reasons shortly. I want to go in, it's about light to dark, so I want to go in a lot more watery. So I want to start with a bit of a dark, moody green at the top. I've picked up a different brush. I'm not going with my square brush because I want to go in between these petals, which is great, apart from the fact that actually sometimes at the top there it's not quite as easy, so it's just a case keep working that colour. Keep it wet so it moves easily. It doesn't matter if I go over the edges of the flower petals, because obviously I'll build those up back on top, but if I can leave some of it, it's easier for me to find where I was. It's going to end up a little bit lighter as we go down. Ooh. Let's blend that in a bit. I think sometimes we always think that the acrylics have to go on thick, but actually they don't. They can go on quite wet and thin to start with, and we can build those colours. So as I say, this is a bit more of light at the end, a little bit more light, dark to light, because we've been in dark places and we need to, some of us probably still are in dark places, and you will find some light because the light is there in the end. It's just working through that awful journey. And last week, sorry, my video last week, I was not in the best place and the dark had got to me, the dark nights, which was why this week I wanted something that kind of gives us hope from that darkness, because we're going into the winter here in the UK. I know that's not all over the world, it depends where people watch from, but we all still need a bit of hope that these dark months don't last too long, and it's not really too long, I know that. I always think that in my mind, I know by the end of January we're back to where we are now, so even when it goes darker, it does quickly get light again. Oh dear. I cut the piece of paper before out of this pad, and I should really just put this on a piece of card, and I might in a minute just swap it, but as I've started I can't till it's dry. Remember those. We're on a sunflower. This is one of my daughters that she grew. She was so proud. It's just her first time growing them, and they were so magnificent in the garden. I was proud for her. I've got quite a chunky big brush actually. It's I thought it wasn't going to tell me then. It's a size 12. Even with the sunflower itself, I'm going to go in a little bit dark and we'll work dark to light. So sometimes even when life feels uncertain, it's easy to let the fear, and in fact hold the brush. We can easily do that when we're painting. If we paint with a bit of fear and second guessing every colour. I'm not second guessing these colours, I'm just going for it. Sometimes that's what you have to do, is just make the decision and get the paint on the paper. It's like, if you paint from the heart, from what you love to do, and even if you're doing this, you could doodle this one so easily. Doodle it, do it with crayons. But let your heart decide those colours, not your head. Work from your heart this week. And certainly don't work from fear. At this point, I'm not really bothered if it blends into the background. Not sure where my butterfly went now, but That really is nice and bright, isn't it? I'm just going to go over those edges so we don't get white bits showing. Sometimes that happens when you're working on a canvas. Wasn't very strong in the end, was it? But that's fine. I just want to get rid of the white of the paper. Even over here, as I'm looking now, I've got bits of white. Might regret that, but we'll see. Now I'm going to surprise you a little bit on this one, because I'm actually going to paint the butterfly straight in black. Actually, it's not really black, is it? It's Payne's Grey. If anyone's painted with me before, you know that I don't like black. I always use Payne's Grey instead and add warm colours to it. So I'm just going to add some of that nice turquoisey blue this time into this wing, just so we can see the difference. I've just picked up a little darker colour to go for this bottom part of the wing, again, to just so we can differentiate. Is that the right word? Because if it was, I didn't say it very well. We can see the difference anyway, can't we? That's its little body, just there. I'm just going to go back over some of that background with my square brush because it will be better. So turning the opposite way round, I'm just going to very quickly go over some of those bits into a darker greeny blue with yellow streaks by the looks of it. I wanted dark to light, but you've got to like the shade of dark that you're using if it's a piece of artwork. In life, wouldn't it be nice if we could choose the shades of dark? That would be great funny, wouldn't it? We could suggest that, say, hey God, can you give us a lighter shade of dark or a pretty shade of dark? Add a little bit of turquoise in it so we're more cheerful in the dark. Sorry, that was a bit of a mad moment, wasn't it? Sorry. So I'm just going to keep turning this round and just work down, and I'm hoping that I can shade that light better this time. Baseline is always the first port of call, isn't it? And then we can just see where we're at. But I'm getting to grips with it early because sometimes in my artwork I decide far too late and then it's a pest to change. I still do it, mind you, but it just means we're back and forth too often. So I'm not too worried about getting some of those petals covered at this point, because I can actually pull them back up. So I kind of want it to go quite a bit lighter down here. When I went off, I did actually dry it with a hairdryer as well, because it's so much quicker than waiting for it, especially when it was so wet. I have to find a bit more yellow in a minute. Oh, if I go too yellow, it won't help with the sunflowers, will it? Oh no! Well, that's the palette on the floor. And quite sadly, that's the palette on the floor. The wrong way up. Might just have to switch you off for a minute. Well, quite amazingly, for that drop of my palette onto the floor, it landed on my wire for my lighting, and in the end it wasn't fully on the floor, so I'm pleased to say it was quicker and easier to have a quick wipe up. I'm not going to overly do the leaves this time. It's just a suggestion that there are leaves behind this lovely sunflower, which will just going to just quickly give ideas of shapes of the leaves. So I'm just going to go a little bit back onto my mood that happened last week, and it wasn't really a mood as much as emotions cropped up. And going through grief, we never know when that's going to happen, and it just happened to happen last week. I thought I'd very easily got myself through my anniversary, not easily actually, to be honest, my wedding anniversary and things like that, and then the dark beat me. That's how I felt. So what did I do in the end to help myself through a difficult point? I journaled. I wrote a letter to Rob and told him how I felt and just how much the dark was an issue this year and for whatever reason. And then I actually did do a separate bit where I just journaled it out and thought, why this year? I don't remember it being that bad last year. So why this year, 4 years on, did I suddenly get this bout of sadness? I worked it out. Partly last year I was helping out in a cafe, and I think I was just with people more than maybe I have been this year. So maybe that's why it had happened. But by journaling it out, it helps offload it. It gets it out of your system, onto some paper, and you've almost disposed of it for the time being. So, and I have done that throughout the 4 years. Quite like that greenery. This is my dark area. Maybe I wanted this one just to be darker. It's not darker as much as a completely different shaded green. I'll just introduce some of that into the other ones close by. Just using a bit of that yellow to just put the veins into those leaves a little bit. Sometimes when you mix your paint, you've got more paint up the actual brush than at the point, and when you need it at the point, it's better to just clear the brush and go back in. Just wanted to just get those petals back in now. Still keeping the colours subtle, opposed to the bright yellow that we'll add at the end. So in your grief, if at the beginning you probably haven't worked out what's the best way to help yourself yet, and you're still searching for those clues, someone that's going to tell you that where you are right now is pretty normal. I'm quite sure you go through such an ugly stage of life with all this, the depth of grief. But if you're further on, let me know how you manage to get through those deep times. Because, like I say, if someone's at the beginning, it can be a matter of saving your own sanity. Because I think we slightly go a little bit mad at the thought that this is life now, that we'll never get away from this depth of grief. So yeah, how did you cope? Did you journal? Did you paint? Did you have friends that actually stood by you more? Because that's always a real tough one. I think that's a tough one in second year as well, because everyone thinks you're all right, but actually all you've done is survive. You've got through. You've just got through 1 year of memories of trying to work out how just to be you, not a couple. And then second year it hits, and everyone else thinks you're okay, and they're all moving on with their lives, and you're stuck. You're still stuck. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned from each other for those who've lost a partner. I'm just going to keep going around a little bit with this yellow and strengthen it up a bit. So as I was just starting this one, the sun came in and just shone on the artwork, and I had to go and close the blind. The sad thing was, I was just about to say that, you know, this year, when I started my YouTube channel, my daughter kindly sent me some sunflowers. And it was like having a big ray of the sun in the room permanently. It was beautiful. They really were nice. I wonder if she knew, though, that in China, they symbolise good luck and happiness. And that was really kind. But because I bet she didn't even know that, but she just bought some flowers because she knows how much I like them. So I'm just going along here and getting some of that middle bit done. I'm just being a bit blobby with it, because I'm blending some orange in the brown, because that seems to be the colours that are in there. I probably should have actually worked the opposite way around and done some more of the yellow first, because now I'm going to dirty my water with the brown. But hey, it'll be fine. Sometimes I just literally go over with just white, and then my colours as I build will pop. But I just thought, if I start introducing the yellow into it at this point, I'm one stage further on the build-up, aren't I? So just by strengthening the different shades of that yellow there, we're getting already a bit of light depth in them. I'm actually going quite strong with this paint now to get this layer in. This isn't glazing, this is painting with it to get that depth. Oh, sorry, to get those green bits out of the way. We do need lightness and we do need hope, and I think sometimes something cheerful in flowers brings you hope. Bob used to buy me flowers a lot, and for a while I did keep buying them, but do you know, it's not quite the same when you're buying them yourself as someone else buying you flowers. But I bought some for our anniversary and I put them in my bedroom. Bob's pictures that I speak to is in the bedroom. It's the only one I speak to. It's quite strange, isn't it, how sometimes you get a grip on one thing that represents them. I always said I wouldn't have a shrine, I wouldn't have these things, but do you know what? It just happened. My daughter said the same. She wasn't going to do that either. We decided that we're not going to have a shrine, but we both do. It's not really shrine, but you know what I mean. We have a little area that has meaning. It's little, for her it's little dad area, for me it's Bob's area. It's quite surprising how that can cover, isn't it? Also, the yellow is a colour of hope, and hope is what we need. We need to know that in the end we will get to a point where we live with the grief. It doesn't rule our life. It's still there, and we learn to go around it and carry it with us on our journey through life. In modern spirituality, it says that the sunflowers encourage optimism, self-discovery and personal growth. And that's us, isn't it? We're on a self-discovery time, because all of a sudden we've lost who we thought we were, because we were always that partner. That sometimes people like to call it the other half, isn't it? I haven't completely decided on the colour scheme for the butterfly. I'm going to let my heart decide what colours. So it kind of goes down into sections with these, don't they? I don't want to necessarily create a species of butterfly, but just the essence of the butterfly. It's quite an unusual way to do it, this, I suppose. It's not one I've done it before, actually. I have painted them before, but not like this. Some of these edges might just end up being painted slightly with the yellow, but we can always come back and touch everything up. There was a point when I actually couldn't draw with a paintbrush. I had to have really drawn it in properly with a pencil before I go for it. But I think, you know, the more you paint, the more you do things, the more control you learn to have over the paintbrush. The more you do, the more you know how, or the more confident you come. So I'm going to ask you, as I normally ask you, what have you been up to this week? Have you created? Have you been somewhere that was always going to be a challenge? I know we go into places where you used to go with your partner are a challenge. And you know, 4 years on, there's a few places I still haven't been because I just don't feel, in a way, I don't think I'll ever be ready for those places. And that's fine. So I've just added a little bit of the blue into the mix now. I've just added a bit more orange and a different yellow onto my board here, and I'm going to go and just try and get those bottoms of the petals. I like that colour actually in there. So now it's become part of the centre then, just by taking it in and making that point definitely there. So my daughter's sunflowers, they grew so tall, they must have been about 7 foot. I have a picture of my grandson in the middle of them for his photo taken, and he's virtually the same height as me now. He was always going to grow taller than me. I'm not very tall myself, so they're allowed, my grandchildren. I remember actually that with my nan, that it was a challenge that we all got taller than her. So yeah, they were a good 7 foot tall. And it just goes, they must have amazing strong roots because they withstand such weather. They've never blown over. They grow tall and strong, seeking the sunshine. And they do that without the flowers, don't they? They do it very green leaf to start with. It's just amazing flower to be able to withstand all the weather at that height. It really does remind us that we should be seeking out the light in our own lives in the end, that there is light somewhere in this journey, and it becomes easier to carry the grief, I believe. Some days it is easier, actually, to be honest. I'm just going to add a little bit white in that. I might not like the colour. No, I don't. I didn't think I would. I suddenly remembered that the white in the orange doesn't always suit. And you know, as I'm going in here and I'm going in darker in areas, those petals are getting more shape already, aren't they? It's like everything, light, dark, light, dark. I just like the greeny bit in there. I might remember that as I go further around, that green works quite nice as well. I love flowers. I'm not very good at growing them. Maybe that's why I appreciate having them bought for me. But I do like flowers. I don't know if I have a favourite completely. I think some flowers are amazing because they like the sunshine. And it's funny because for a yellow flower they come late in the season, where a lot of yellow flowers come at the beginning in spring. So what's your favourite flower? Leave a comment for me. Maybe one day I'll put one of those flowers into a piece of artwork. We could paint that together. I don't like using colour straight from the tube, so I am actually mixing that around a little bit with what's on the palette. I'm going the opposite way because this actually blends that colour in and creates, as I say, that shape to the petals a little bit more. And I'm not really trying to be exact. I'm just making it look like a petal. It's a bit more, I think they call it naive art when it's a bit like this. Quite like naive art, although sometimes they go around quite a bit with pen as well, but I think it's just a nice form of artwork. I've just added a bit of water because it was just there, leaving some gaps in the canvas and making it white, and I didn't really like that. You know, if you are painting along and you've got a bit of mixtures of colours on your palette here, you know, just keep going in with slightly different ones and building those petals up with the different shades and different light in it. It's actually quite therapeutic. I kind of want to darken the centre. I add a little bit of, can you guess, permanent rose. It's the pink. I always go for the pink, don't I? I'm just going to put a bit of the Payne's grey in there actually as well. Just in that really thin end at the back because it would be quite dark there. Then just keep mixing those colours and altering them slightly so they're not always the same as you go down. Creating something you've made yourself opposed to someone else has just given you an outline. So as I complained about the sunshine, can you believe it's now gone and it's clouded over? That's quite sad, isn't it? I was just enjoying it even though I blocked it out for a while. So now, once we go around this sunflower and get the nice yellow edges, I'm actually going to start some colour into the centre of the butterfly now. So it probably wouldn't surprise you, especially after doing the dragonfly, that I'm going to do purple in there. But this is not guaranteed to be the finished colour. I'm just going to play with colours and see how I like it. Be careful there because that's actually 2 wings. We'll make sure we know that divide afterwards. I wanted to be real cheerful, this picture, because I just felt that I needed a cheerful one this week, and maybe you did as well. I just like this blue underneath, so I'm going to keep some of that nice blue in as well. I'm keeping it quite thin, the paint, again at the moment, so it's just glazing down and making it easy to fill in those gaps, and then I'll strengthen it a little bit more with an extra glaze. It's such a me colour, this turquoisey blue. Take a little tad of white. I was going to go on a little bit thick, that's why I've divided it between each section. And then I've just dried my brush a little bit because I'm going to just pull that down and blend on the paper or the canvas. Might be a bit late to do it on the purple, might be a bit drying, but let's have a go. Makes it kind of a tad lilac, maybe I'm not as keen on that, but we'll just do it and then see how it dries. And when it's the right way round, it's always more difficult to see when it's sideways. It's just easier to paint. Whereas that one blended, this one's glazing. But that's fine. Yeah, I quite like the idea of that. I might take a couple of coats to make it work. Just lifted a bit of that off because I just decided that that was a little bit heavy on the white. Actually, I might just go in with a little bit of darkness and do it the opposite way round of doing that drag. When I pull my board up like this, every so often I have to just check the camera. You're able to see what I'm doing, because for me it's just easier actually if I can see, especially filling in these little bits. I think there we did lose that lovely purple, so we'll go back to that afterwards once it's dried fully. I think there is a connection between a butterfly's journey and our own journey. Hear me out on this one. And so a caterpillar going along from crawling along as a caterpillar then turns into a beautiful butterfly, and believe me, that to me is nature at its best. I mean, there's nothing better, is there? But this is our journey, isn't it? We crawl through the depths of grief, and it's a journey, and somewhere along the way, as we learn to live with the grief, we start to blossom, we start to bloom, and we transform. And we transform around the grief, creating a new life, a new chapter. And we don't do that to not remember our loved ones. We take them with us on that journey, and we take them on that journey to honour them, to honour the life that we had with them, and to honour the person that they helped us grow into. So yeah, I think we can relate to the caterpillar and the butterfly in that way, and hope that in the end our life becomes the same as the butterfly, beautiful, new, without forgetting the journey before, but to honour the journey before. I'm not there completely covering the underneath, but I'm just brightening that up. It's a bit glazy, not too wet, but certainly not thick. So what's your thoughts there? Do you think our journey is the caterpillar's journey? Maybe you're too at the beginning. Maybe you're further along and you can understand that. Let me know in the comments. It doesn't look like a butterfly without us doing the body fully, does it? But I'm not quite ready for doing that. I want to get a little bit more depth in here. I'm just going to go in a little bit darker with that, the brown and the orange, just so that we get a little bit of depth in it. The difference of this brush and the other one, this one doesn't quite get the same point, it's slightly more rounded, whereas that one gets the point better. There's probably a reason, and they probably have names for the different brushes, but you know, sometimes I've just got the brushes, different makes actually as well. Like with every week, these, it really is just like build the different areas, build the colours, build the darks, the lights. And the darks and lights aren't always blacks and whites, they're different shades of colours and different, sometimes even different colours I use for my darks and lights. That one's a bit too unmixed. Just drag some of that up into the edge of there, and it just creates that shadowy bit, doesn't it? I think those ones on the edge here still are on the edge of that circle and need that little bit of shaping still there. Just imagine where the circle goes. Maybe they're not as far in as you think. I went into the art shop the other day. I was actually trying to get a cutting board because I've turned these, the first set of these, into affirmation cards now, which I'm selling. There will be a link in the description. But I went to get a cutting board to cut them, and you know, it's so hard to get past the art department without buying something extra. I needed paper, but really seriously, thankfully, they are very low on stock of everything. There's a little bit of popping that needs to be done with that butterfly. Just going to see if I can just make a little bit of light turquoise. It's quite nice actually, isn't it? So the thing with painting, you know, nothing, it doesn't matter what you're painting, what you're doing, you cannot do one layer and it be perfect first time. You do need to work on layers. So if you're enjoying the painting with me, please do subscribe and like my page, like the video, because it does help me, oh dear, it does help me grow the channel. Just add in a little bit of the Payne's Grey to some yellow to get, just to knock it back and get some of those shadow areas. Sometimes I'm going a bit orange. I do quite like the green as the shadow area, and then I'll probably go over with a bit of a glaze still. Mixing colours is always a bit experimental as well. Don't be afraid to experiment with them. I might do a separate video of mixing colours. So some of these colours on the butterfly aren't quite popping as much as I'd like them to. Obviously it's not all done yet, but I'm just going to put in areas of white. Then when we go over it again, there'll be areas that actually do lift and be quite the colour we want. Maybe I don't want that black band a bit that big actually. Let's just get rid of some of that as well while we're at it. By doing this, when I make the next bit of purple, it'll start very purple up here, and if I wash it all the way down, we'll get the different depths easier. I'm drawing that line in because that is actually the divide line of the two sections of that second wing. Maybe I'd need to just do that for the sections of those two wings so we can maybe make those a little bit more obvious. I'm not sure it would have the black up there. It would, because the black would just go into the edges, wouldn't it? Not right to the edge, I don't think. I don't know what colour this one's going to be, but it just looks as though it might struggle on whatever it's going to be. Is a bit grey under there. I'm just going to wipe that out as well. There would be black. That would be blue. Still, I don't know why I did it all the way up there. The bottom of the next bit of the wing can be all blue. That's not an issue. Again, would that bottom wing have a black line around it, or would it be the blue to the edge. I know sometimes at the end of the videos or towards the certain stages I get a bit quiet, but I try not to be. But it is that sometimes I'm concentrating more maybe than at other points. So if I've got rid of those lines, I think that line has to go as well, doesn't it? As well. And so all those colours would actually go to the bottom and not to the edge. And I'm sure that's all down to the species. I'm sure some of them probably do. And I'm just making it up as I go along. It already feels to me like we're getting there. I quite like the fact that we've whited that out. Almost like we might still keep a little bit of highlighty white in at the end as well. Quite like that now. We need to keep going on these petals. It's so lovely, isn't it, to do something in such a cheerful, bright colour. It's a bit red, isn't it? We need to just take that out a little bit. Where's my cloth? I seem to have lost it. I'm trying to get to a point where I've got the second layer on all of the petals. I'm glad I chose a sunflower now because I really do like the cheerfulness of this one and the brightness and the sign of hope, of light we should be looking for on this journey. If you're in the first month, the first few days, first 6 months, if you've just managed to move forward and you've just managed to keep yourself going, and believe me, that's enough. You know, you're not expected to sprint. This isn't a sprinting journey. There's a lot to take in, there's a lot to absorb. Even on your second year, it's about keeping faith in yourself, because you will make it through. Talk to your partner. I always think that's always been my helpful thing. I actually think I do it more and more. I think I do it more now as well. You know, if things are tough during the day, I'll just chat it out with him. I don't, obviously he can't reply. When you love that, when you love 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, where you could speak to them again, just have that conversation. It's so amazing, wouldn't it? It's like, why hasn't heaven got a phone? But do talk to them. Talk to them, tell them how you feel, discuss it with them. Because as crazy as some people might think that sounds, they're the one person you would have discussed things with. They're the one person that you discussed everything with. Still do it. You'll be surprised at how much it helps just to at least say the words. Talk to them. And sometimes you do get an answer. I find that I get lots of angel numbers now. And if you're not familiar with angel numbers, just look it up. Have a quick Google. I had angel numbers last week when I was not feeling my best. And I'd spoken to Rob, I'd written him a letter, and I got an 0909, and that was one that I'd never really thought of, but it's quite powerful. But you know, it's signs, just signs that you're in the right direction, that you're supported, that we all have angels that support us. Like one of the videos before, because I have to split these, otherwise my phone wouldn't cope with the amount I have to download them onto my iPad, ready for editing. But one of them was actually filmed in 15 minutes, 15 seconds. And, you know, I can't do that to order. That'll be messages. And later on, I'll make a note of these things, and then later on I'll have a look them up and see what the meaning is. I'm actually really liking this one. What do you think? So I had to have a little break there whilst my battery charged. It's the only hassle sometimes, and I forget. And fortunately I saw it as it went, so I don't think I've done anything that you haven't seen. So just returning to the blue, but you wouldn't even know I was returning because that's where I was up to. I'm a little actually confused with it. I'm loving it. I'm loving the colours. But my reference picture is not these colours anyway, as you can imagine, because I don't think this is a real colour for a butterfly. Only one of my imagination, as usual. But this is the underneath of the wing on this side, and that's the top of the wing on the other side. Would they be identical, or is the underneath and the tops different? Because mine is. And I'm like, do I change it or do I leave it? Quite enjoying it as it is, so I'm not sure if I might just put a little bit of a blue line down there. It's how we feel. Paint with your heart. Let those colours do what they want to do. I still need to find some words for it, not quite work those out. I kind of wanted to do this one because I wanted this one to be painting from the heart, not through my fear. But of course not everyone's painting, so that's not going to really be a good wording for the picture. Anyway, I'm going to just keep thinking on it and keep painting. I'm getting a bit crazy now because I've decided that I want that bit purple. You know me and my facts and my little information, my soul meanings and the rest of it. I like to find out things from different countries, the meanings of butterflies. I wonder if there's a butterfly this colour really somewhere in the world. Wouldn't that be nice? So in some cultures, butterflies are believed to carry the souls of the departed, and they're a bridge between the physical and the spiritual realms. How beautiful. How beautiful is that? It just reminded us that love transcends physical boundaries. I always like to think that Rob's still around, that their soul is still around. How do you feel about that? What's your thoughts? Do you feel your loved one is still around? I've never had total contact. I went to a medium once. You know, one of these people. I went with my daughter to see if we could connect. But you know something, we didn't. And we were both really, really disappointed that we didn't. Right, so this little guy needs legs, doesn't he? And I think it'd be quite cool of us not to start thinking of those legs. So let's have a quick work this out of where those legs come in from. So we're going to go here. So that one's from this side and that one's from the opposite side because it's starting at the bottom. I can't see on my reference picture whether they have little feet or not. I might try and find another one and just check before I finish this because they must have some little sort of foot at the end, mustn't they? Do you think? I've created them now. And then they have the big antennae. I might regret doing that one too soon if we decide to put anything else on that wing. But if we do, we can just fill it in again. It's never a big deal. And this one goes quite a way out this way. Might make that a bit chunky, but there we go. Let's see if we can just make those into a little bit more of an eye. Okay, so let's continue. I think this one should have white blobs on, but actually let's get some paint on the brush if we're going to do that. It's a little too watery. I do think we should still have a little bit of light because I quite liked the light coming down. Got a right blob of paint on that then. I was going to put a big blob on and that was no good. Even now it's too thick. It's supposed to be highlighting. I'm going to give you a bit of a journal thing here to maybe help you on your journey and to do a little bit of some thought after painting this one. Your journal idea is, or your sentence. What's one small fear I'm ready to let go of so I can grow? To have a think about that. What can you let go of? That fear. I think part of my fear was always I can't do it on my own. Even going to my shows, there was this fear in me that actually Rob was the salesman and I couldn't do that without him. And do you know something? I can. I can and have. But sometimes when I go to a show, which I actually do, especially if it's a tough show, I tell myself to put Rob's head on, because when shows were a little bit quiet or, you know, lacking the customers or lacking the buzz, Rob was really good at chatting to people. So I had to decide that I needed to put his head on and learn from him. And I suppose in a way that's my honouring him, is acknowledging the fact that that was his strong bit. That was the bit he enjoyed. He was a real people person. Probably better than myself. And even that comment in itself, I actually think I let him be that person because that's where he was strong, so I didn't need to do it. But of course I can do it. So what do you think that you're saying you can't do when actually, in all honesty, you can? It's nice to hear from you, to, you know, let me know how that resonates with you, how you think you might be able to work that out. I can't really decide what's going on with this little body, but I think it's there, isn't it? Yeah? I should quite like him, actually. I think he's quite cute, isn't it? As usual, all my animals end up with being a he. Ooh, that's a bit white. That was a bit too strong. I was trying to highlight it, but I actually didn't manage. So I'm just going to now go around those leaves a little bit, or petals, and just give them a bit of depth. I do actually like that greeny colour. So in true me style, I have chose 2 lots of words and I cannot make my decision between the 2. So I'm going to tell you them both, and then I'm going to have a think on them before I put them on the... Oh, that's a bit yellow now. Before I put them on the finished card, and by the time the video is all ready and uploaded onto Facebook, I'll know. No, it's not Facebook, because it's YouTube it's going on to. So the first lot of words, because we really want to honour our partners by trying to move forward in our life and having the courage to do that. So love doesn't end, it transforms. So I don't know what your thoughts on that one are. And the other one, I can carry love and hope together. Because, you know, we always will carry them with us, let's face it. That, you know, they've been a part of our life for so long, or some people might not have had as long as others, but, you know, it doesn't make any difference. That person you chose to live with, that person you married or just lived with, they mean a lot more to you than anybody. Even parents, it's, you know, there's a closeness, there's an intimacy that you will have with no one else. So that relationship is incredibly special. So the butterfly, he adapts, doesn't he? Or she adapts. She grows from a caterpillar, bless her, into something absolutely amazing. I think that's the other thing. Some people think, sort of indicate that you can grow and have a better life. I've heard that before, and I find that in itself quite difficult, because my life with Rob was everything, and I'm going to have a different life. That doesn't mean to say it's better. I think some of these paints have gone just a little bit dry on my board, and I'm struggling on them being a bit thick. You can tell the fact that I'm getting such a green from this for the depth, because it's from the Payne's grey, not from... Although you'd still get some form of green if you use black as well, but right now it is Payne's grey. Hey, we're not far finished on this one, are we? I hope you've enjoyed it. This one's, it really is giving us some hope, honouring the love we had. Even the sunflower has strong roots, and that's where we are. We've had strong roots from our loved ones, and now we want to honour that and honour them by moving forward. I wanted to just try and highlight a little bit in there, so you just got a little bit of there might be a little bit of sunshine on there, or actually I could have made it into yellow, couldn't I? Just a little bit of lights and darks. Just highlight a little bit. The sun's catching it, making it into its own big bright sunshine flower. Depending on the angles of petals, it will depend where the sun or the brightness shines, so they're not all going to be identical. I get the feeling this side's more in the dark just because I've got more darks in there, so the lights might be a little bit higher up. So I've got my pen out to do a bit of pen work on here, but I don't think I actually want to now. I think actually I'm really happy with where we are. What's your thoughts, hey? Yeah, I like that one.
So today's really was painted from the heart, because those colours, they came from my heart. They're not really butterfly colours completely, but you know what, that's my butterfly, and hopefully you do a version of your butterfly too. And honouring our partners, the word it has to be, love doesn't end, it transforms, because that's what happens with the butterfly, it transforms, doesn't it? So yeah, I really do hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, please like and subscribe to my channel, because it does help me grow it. And hopefully I'll see you again next week, when I will be doing another affirmation card. I haven't decided what yet. It all depends how I feel and what animal pops up and says, paint me. If you have ideas or anything you want me to paint, pop it into the comments and I'll see what I can do. See you soon.